I'd like to share with you, as we invoke the service, a poem, Ode to the Glorious Valley. The sun's rays fall gently from the sky, kissing your hilltops and treetops and blades of grass. Your wildlife springs forward and upward like spires of hope and life in their majesty. Your body is half earth, half water, and half sky. When you speak, I listen. You speak to me in a tongue I have never heard, but I know and I understand. You speak to me with confidence, certainty, and subtlety. Your words carry the weight of 1,000 handfuls of love. You tell me a story of kindness, generosity, and healing in this world, in this life. You tell me about fear and how it is meaningless. You tell me, O valley, about love and beauty. And for this moment, I am complete. All right, so it looks like it's time for some introductions. So if you will all do me a favor and join me in closing your eyes, and we're going to do a little deep breathing. This is something that I like to do to get kind of focused, get the nerves out, so to speak. So if you would, close your eyes, and we're going to do a 3-count breath. So we're going to inhale for 3 counts, hold for 3 counts, and then exhale for 3 counts. And we're going to do that 3 times, okay? So let's begin. In, hold, and release. In, hold, and release. In, hold, and release. All right. Now, if you'll continue with your eyes closed for just a moment, I want you to do a little visualization with me. I want you to imagine for a moment the binaries in our life. Good and evil, light and dark, male and female. And that's where I want you to land. And I want you to think about that dichotomy that we present in our lives. And is all around us at all times. And now I want you to take a moment and I want you to think, as we are thinking about men and women, I want you to visualize someone who is transgender, a trans woman. And now, if you've got that in your head, I want you to imagine her voice. What does it sound like? What does she say? And now as you open your eyes, I want to introduce myself as a trans woman. And I am here before your congregation, and I thank you all for this opportunity. I'm familiar with this congregation because this congregation has been here. I've been in this sanctuary, in this space with some of you before at different points in my adulthood. Times when I was looking for community. Times when I really needed it. I want to thank you all for the opportunity to speak before you, because it feels as though this has been something that has been coming for a while. I want you to know I'm very excited to be sharing my story today, and that story will come later. These are just my opening words. But a lot of the story that you are going to hear is going to be a lot of the work that I do in our community with Human Library, as John was telling you all about, really just sharing my story with all of you and giving the opportunity to maybe share a different perspective. I have a mission, and that mission revolves around vulnerability and empathy, trying to encourage both of those things. I want to share my story because I think it's important, but not because I think that it's more important than anyone else's story, but because I think that it's important that I am given an opportunity that other people should be given. I want you to understand that as we go through today and as I share my story, I consider myself lucky. I bring to the table a set of privileges that other people in my community may not. And so I want to thank you so very much for the opportunity to share that with you. What you are going to hear today is not necessarily always going to be easy to listen to, but it is going to be a story and a journey that brought me to where I am today, brought me to this congregation. It is going to be a story about how I, through my life, got to a point where I needed to be the person that I needed someone to be in my life when I was a youth. And in these unprecedented times, when laws are being passed in different states, and we are, at some points, in a tumultuous situation, I think our stories are sometimes told too late. They're told in front of legislators and school boards and as tragedies and headlines. And that's not what I want to do today. What I want to do is I want to tell my story to this congregation before the time is too late. And encourage people in my community and encourage people in this congregation to go from being a complacent ally where you can live your life and you can be yourself and I'm not going to take part in it. I want you to move from that space of being an ally to being an advocate, someone who will stand and say something. And if you are inspired by advocacy, then maybe there is a place for you in activism. It is very important. It is very important that these spaces that we share are sacred. They are everything that we have. So I want to say thank you again, John, for inviting me. Thank you to the congregation. Thank you to Christy. I was here for Transgender Day of Remembrance just a few weeks ago. That service was brilliant. So I'm very excited to be here with you today. Thank you for the opportunity. All right, terrific. Hi there, and good morning. Good morning. Hi. All right, so, hi there. How are we all today? Good, fantastic. All right, so the book that I'm going to be sharing with you guys today is a book called Being You, a conversation about gender. So, let's get started. All right. There's only one you in the whole world. Isn't that amazing? You have a body? Everybody does. Look at them all playing. Different bodies have different parts. Elbows, noses, belly buttons. Every person's body parts look different. But there are some parts that we all have. When a baby is born, grown-ups might say, it's a girl or it's a boy. Sometimes grown-ups aren't sure, but they choose words like girl and boy anyway. Some babies grow into a different gender than the one that grown-ups called them. There are lots of different genders that people grow into. Some people are girls, some are boys, some people are neither, and some people are both. It's okay to wonder, am I a girl? Am I a boy? Am I both? Am I neither? Maybe you already know. There's no right or wrong answer, and it's okay if your answer changes. Oh, this is my favorite. This is my favorite spread on the whole book, to be honest. I should have this out there when the service is over so you guys can look through it. But whatever your feelings are, they are real and important. You are the expert on being you. See all of them? Yep. All right. Pronouns are words that people use to talk about someone instead of that person's name, like they, she, or he. Some words might feel more like you than others. See this little boy is he, him. They're using ella, that's Spanish, they, them. There are lots of ways to show the world who you are, and they are all wonderful. There are so many toys, clothes, hairstyles, and colors to choose from. You know what you like because it makes you feel happy and at home in your body. You may have heard people say, that's just for boys, or that's just for girls. Has someone ever picked toys or clothes out for you that didn't make you feel happy or at home in your body? For a long time, many people have said and believed untrue things like, you are either a boy or a girl, or boys are stronger and smarter than everybody else. There are lots of unfair rules that give boys more power. This is a picture of all the presidents. A great reminder. Thankfully, there are also many brave grown-ups and kids who say, no, that's not true. That's not fair. People who work together to change unfair rules about gender are called feminists. We can practice being feminists by noticing unfair things around us and by working together to make things more fair. There's bathrooms, boys and girls, and this person doesn't know where to go. They don't know where they're going to go. The things we say and do matter and can make this world better for everybody. See, the kids come together to help this little kid. And they use an all-gender restroom, just like the ones you guys have here. We want the world to be more fair because each one of us is just right, exactly as we are. Being ourselves makes the world beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Have a good morning.
And now we will sing out the children with the children's blessing in the order of service.
Let me put this down. Sorry. Hi again, everybody. Thank you again for giving me the opportunity to speak. So what I'm going to do today is very similar to what I do with Human Library in that it's telling my story. However, while I feel as though I am confident in doing that, generally in that setting, I've never done it on this scale before. So please bear with me, as this is my first time ever speaking to a group this large about something very personal. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to kind of give you a very expedited timeline of my life from early childhood to today. Now, I don't know how the congregation will respond to that afterwards, but if you guys would like to ask questions or whatever, that's totally cool. You know, this can be kind of off the cuff if time allows. I also will be obviously available after the service if you guys want to connect longer about something or stay in touch after the service. I also want you to know that this story, it has to do with some religious trauma, and it has to do with some mental health problems, especially like youth and mental health. If you are sensitive to that, or if it becomes too much, I want to invite you to please feel free to leave the sanctuary space. I won't go into too great of a detail. I know that we've got kind of a wide range of ages in the room. So, but I want to offer that to all of you. All right, so as John introduced me, he said that I grew up in Fort Wayne and the surrounding areas, and that's true. I grew up. I was born and raised in my early childhood in Fort Wayne. I was raised in the Lutheran Church, Missouri Synod Lutheran, to be specific. And yeah, I know, yeah. Not the right crowd, yeah. So, yeah. Oh, I know. Absolutely. I can feel and see that there are a lot of people who are looking for a safer space to bring kind of that social or political activism to church. And that's why I'm so inspired by this congregation, why I've been here before. So I attended Emmaus Lutheran Church and School. It used to be down on Broadway, across from the Zestos on Broadway, if you're familiar, if you're from Fort Wayne. That was a big part of my life. It was, church every Sunday, Sunday school. I went to school there as well, went through parochial school. And so my entire environment circulated around church and religion. At an early age, I knew that there was something different about me. I didn't know what exactly it was, but I knew that there was something that I could tell that I was not comfortable in the gender that I was. And there was this consistent exploration, this tug, this pulling back and forth. But I was not in an environment like this one, right, where people are accepting or open to discussions like that. So from a very early age, I felt very different and did not really know what to do with that. When I was 8 years old, I was pulled out of Emmaus Lutheran School and Church. I moved to a very small town, if you can call it a town, Wolf Lake, Indiana. Yeah, I mean, it's a blip on, what is that, 30 or 33? But it is out there. It was a very rural area, and I was not even in Wolf Lake, really. I was in the middle of nowhere, to be quite frank. In about 2001, when I was about 10 years old, I was in 4th grade, and I began the process of coming out. I did not understand what that word meant or what that phrase meant. And the only word that I had come into contact that felt close to what I was experiencing was that I was gay. And I started the process of coming out to my peers at 10 years old. And in 2001, to kind of take you back, it was a very historically conservative time. And I was in a very small town, a very historically conservative place. And I knew from the time that I had spent in church that telling my family wasn't an option. Telling my community from that perspective wasn't an option. And so I would tell classmates, and then those classmates would tell other classmates, and then the rumors would spread. And so what I decided to do was, instead of denying that, I kind of embraced it. I knew that it was going to give me more grief, but I said, you know what, there is something to this tugging and pulling, and I'm not going to back down. And so I started the process of coming out publicly to my classmates. Now, when I was living in Wolf Lake, I went to Wolf Lake Elementary, and that's where I started my process of coming out. And that school leads into Central Noble Middle School, which is a rural middle school. So a lot of different kids from a lot of different areas go there. And so I was bused into Albion and kind of given a completely different dynamic. At this point, it was my third different school environment. And so I started the process again of coming out. There was no really going back in the closet. A lot of my classmates already knew, but there were a lot of new faces. And I got a mix of reactions from people. Like I said, it was a very conservative time, and so some people would tell their parents, and their parents would be like, stay away from that kid. But some people were supportive, regardless of parental interaction or interference or what people thought. But I was perpetually afraid that my family, that my mother, my single mother, would find out. Now, my mom's a single mom. I'm also the daughter of a first-generation Colombian immigrant, but he was never in my life, really. He's local to Fort Wayne, but we just never really connected. So my mom, being ultra-religious and being my only caretaker, I was very afraid that she would find out. Well, when I was in 7th grade, I was at Central Noble Middle School, and my mom, we had a change of life situation, and we had to move out of Wolf Lake. We had to move back to Fort Wayne. And so, once again, my life is uprooted and moved to Fort Wayne, Indiana, and I started attending Northwood Middle School. This was my first, Wolf Lake Elementary, Central Noble Middle School, public schools by definition, by criteria, but so different than a Fort Wayne community school. When I went to Northwood, I could have stayed in the closet. I could have decided not to come out, but I got that urge again. And so I began the process of coming out again. And in 7th, it would have been 8th grade, right? I started dating for the first time. And through that process, my mom found out. She found notes and information. Unbeknownst to me, she went to this young man's house and outed him to his entire family. Meanwhile, I was in school, and I got pulled out of school and told that I was going to lunch. And suddenly we're at a building, seemingly in the middle of a field. I've never been here before. It's definitely not a hacienda. And it wasn't. It was Parkview Behavioral Health. So in 8th grade, I was pulled out of school, and I was taken to Parkview Behavioral Health. Not told what the place was or what was happening. And then a nurse came out, took me into an intake room that was filled with different members of my family. And a therapist questioned me about the things that my mom had found out in front of my whole family. So I was essentially outed to my entire family and had essentially a nervous breakdown in the middle of an intake room at PBH. And after that, the specialists decided that they wanted to keep me inpatient. So I stayed inpatient for a week. After that scenario, my life at home was never the same. It was tumultuous. Me and my mom were at odds the rest of my teenage years. But I went through the process of, I was very hard-headed. When I came out of Parkview Behavioral Health, I was put into the care of a psychiatrist, or no, a therapist. Sorry, a therapist. And this adult therapist was the first adult who ever told me, "Oh, you're questioning sexuality. That's okay. That's totally fine. That's normal." It's the first time I had ever heard it. And my mom found out that was being said in therapy session. And so she immediately pulled me from the program and put me in a program called Family Christian Counseling. And I was under the care of a woman named Bonnie for about 6 months. And she was administering conversion therapy to me. Essentially creating this pseudo therapeutic space where she was trying to convince me that I wasn't who I was saying I was. Luckily or unluckily, I was so combative in conversion therapy that I got expelled from the program. Thank you. Yes, thank you. And then essentially set off on a path where I knew that I did not have familial support, that it was not safe for me. And so I started exploring what sexuality meant to me, and I started dating. In my late teens, I started realizing, sexuality, I'm not necessarily gay. I found the word pansexual, and I looked up its definition, and I found that was more who I felt I was to my core. And that was a shock to my mom. When I started dating a girl, she was definitely disturbed. And so I dated a few people. When I was in my early 20s, I started dating a man and started living with him, and started watching the show Orange is the New Black. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. And I saw Laverne Cox, and there's a story behind that. And that story was incredible. It was moving to me. And I realized that that was something that I felt to my core, something that I had lost since early childhood. Well, I shared that with that partner, and that partner used that information to harm and show rejection towards me. So I shut that entire thought process down. I'm not trans. And if I am trans, I'm never going to tell anybody. I'm never going to make myself the target of anything again. Well, that relationship dissolved, and I had a friend. I had a friend who I had worked with for a number of years, and she was looking for a place to live. And I said, you know what? I've got an extra bedroom, and something I love more than anything is help with bills. So why don't you move in? She moved in, and things were great. We were the best of friends. What I started to realize about 3 months in to living together is that there were these feelings that were blossoming that came out of seemingly nowhere. And when we confronted that together and we talked about it, she was kind of in the same place. So we decided to start dating. When we decided to start dating, I was immediately in a very vulnerable space. I'm good friends with this person. We are dating, and I want to have the opportunity to tell this person everything. I don't want to keep a secret. I don't want to walk away from this feeling as though I cannot be fully myself. And so I sat her down and I said, okay, here's the situation. Sometimes I feel like a man, and sometimes I don't. Sometimes I feel like a woman. I don't know if I'm non-binary or gender fluid. I don't really know. But I will tell you this. I need to tell you this right now, because if this is the time that you walk away, we can still be friends. We can still salvage this. And she sat across from me, and I was waiting for a response. And she said, okay. Great. She said, okay, I don't understand a lot of what you just said to me, but I'm here, and we're going to figure this out together. The very next day, I get a text, that she wants to talk after work, and I'm petrified immediately. This is the rejection part of everything that I experience and have experienced up to this point. She said, I was waiting for this big reaction from myself as you were telling me all of this, and it just never came, and I don't know why. She said, I think it's because as I'm looking back through my life, I've been having these same feelings myself and just never had the words for it. So in that moment, right after I had come out to my partner came out to me as non-binary. And I'll tell you what, you have got to react better than they did, right? I mean, geez, especially early on. It's a tough bill of sale. So I'm sitting there in front of my partner, and they're telling me that they're trans, and they don't know what that means for themselves either. And after my partner came out to me as Finn, as Finn, we have just created a space where we are open for each other, and we are together in this. We have aligned missions, which are to be vulnerable and to share with our community, to make a safer tomorrow for generations. As we are, I'm in my 30s now, and so I see my 30s as kind of a gateway into becoming possibly an elder in my community. I want to set that up, and I want to create that. And I think Fort Wayne is a good spot for that. My partner and I, Phineas, got married just last January. And we both do human library, and we have loved it and enjoyed it. Now, this kind of brings me to the end of my story. I don't know if there are any questions, if there are any things that anybody would like to add or ask or anything like that. I would be interested, but I don't want anybody to feel obligated. Would that be anything that anyone would be interested in? Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, John. Thank you for pushing through the foot problems.
Just wondering about what kind of support you feel like you've got in Fort Wayne, what it's like on your journey here in this town today.
Sorry. Well, it's complex. In some ways, I feel as though I have a lot of good support. Luckily, we live in the second largest city in Indiana. It's a pretty liberal place. I know. Hey, we're scraping the bottom of the barrel. I know. So in some ways, it feels like we've got support, but familial support, I don't have that anymore. A lot of the community we've had to build for ourselves. We tried to be very open to. Oh, please. Oh, Phineas, yes.
Plan to speak at all, but I will add on and say, we've both talked about moving away, somewhere more liberal, people asking, well, why don't you just go where there's more people in your community, where you're safe and you don't have to worry about that. But something that's really important to both of us is, being that person that we didn't have when we were kids. And so we're gonna think about, when we leave the house, what people are gonna say, what people are gonna think. But the important thing that we think of is those kids or those people who maybe aren't out yet, who do see us and feel inspired by us. And so that's more meaningful, I think, to us than running away from here is creating that community here.
Yes, and yes. And on that note, I refuse to be chased away, right? For decades and generations, people like me, people adjacent to me, people in other communities have felt like they've had to run away to these coastal cities. And in some ways, I feel as though it is the right time to stay, to be here, right? Because that's how we're going to change this.
Anyone else?
Hi.
Hi,
My name's Luke.
Luke. Nice to meet you. Hi.
How could I have a loved one who is questioning if they're trans or not. I've really struggled to know what to say or do to help them.
Yeah.
They will probably not have any familial support.
Yeah.
Yeah. What
do
advice?
I suggest?
Maybe for someone like myself who wants to be not just an ally, but an
Yeah,
active
an advocate.
advocate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it's important to be available, right? To be an open and understanding participant. There are things, there are plenty of queer people in Fort Wayne that you can learn from. There are plenty of people in my situation or different situations that don't feel as though they have the capacity to share. And that's an understandable space to be in. So in some ways, I think it's important to utilize resources. So obviously, this church space is potentially a good option. There are also local resources like Brave Alliance, the Pride Center. Transcendence Fort Wayne is a group, Renegade Pride. There are a lot of local resources and groups, and I think if you want to learn and you want to become an advocate, those spaces not only would be safe for that family member, but would be good spaces for you to go and observe as an advocate, as somebody who wants to learn, right? And there would be people probably willing to share their story there. Also, my partner and I are always available for people in the community. That's something that we want to be available for. So if you want to connect, and maybe we could go on a deeper discussion on that after the service, we could. Absolutely, I would offer that time and space. And obviously, I know I just listed off a ton of resources that no one's writing down or anything. So it's like I can give those to you again. It's not just a one-time thing.
And a shameless plug, I guess I don't need this. Human Library, always an
Yeah.
option.
Yeah.
Lots of stories, similar stories, different stories.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So the next time you see that in the community, you might want to stop by and
gosh.
check out some stories.
I'm nervous. I'm nervous.
I saw you got nervous. This is a plug to them. This is a plug. This is a plug to them. So I promised you religious education starting in January. There is a program I will be doing, and I will be very
Yes.
disappointed if all of you don't do it. It's a trans 6-week immersion within the UU faith. That's your stepping stone to doing your community work.
Yeah.
Because the one thing I can say is I can come and tell you these stories every week from the pulpit. It doesn't matter. I leave in 2 years. It's them that's staying, right? It's your children that are staying, your grandchildren that are staying, and it's you that are staying in the community and need to be this voice.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're going to do 6 weeks. And then, then you'll find all those resources because I will cull them into the resource lists. So.
Can somebody tell me what is Human Library? Where is it?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so you want to know about Human Library. So Human Library is an organization that started in Copenhagen. The entire mission around the organization is to eliminate bias, right? So we all come to the table with a certain set of biases about certain topics. When somebody hears trans woman, they have that visualization, right? Who I'm going to be sitting across from. So at a Human Library event, you would go as a participant, as a reader, and you would walk up to a front desk, and they would have a list of book titles. My book title is Trans Woman. Finn's is Trans Man. John?
On the spectrum, of the autism spectrum.
Yeah, autism. Yeah, there's four-time felon.
Four-time felon, child of alcoholics.
Yes, and
Lots
so
of different types of
and
stories.
so you would go to that desk, and you would say, "I want to check out Trans Woman," and they would lead you to a table, and then shortly after that, they would lead me out, and we sit down and we can have a 30-minute conversation. I can tell you my story. You can ask any questions that you want. I try to be a very open book. Not everybody can do that. So really, I create a space where, especially people who are completely ignorant, can just ask any question, and I'll answer it, or give them a space of maybe that's something we don't ask, you know, and we can use that, conversation in real time, right? It's not an education platform. It's just about sharing my story, but it's very important to have that conversation with.
You can tell where it is in Fort Wayne?
Well, the thing is, the location changes. So.
You have to go to the library.
No, it's a separate organization. So if you are on Instagram or Facebook, you can look up Human Library Fort Wayne. The location will change month to month. Right now we're on a hiatus, probably until about February or March. But you can sign up for their newsletter, and their newsletter will tell you where the next event will be. Usually it's a park pavilion. Sometimes it is at the downtown library, even though it's not associated with the downtown library.
We just had one in Defiance, at Defiance College.
Yeah, Defiance
in Ohio.
College.
And they're
Yeah.
doing one, I think, I don't know if you got this email, like in a week or so, they're doing one in Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
But
I
it's
heard
during the
about
middle of
that.
the week, so I can't go.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah,
I have to
Yeah,
work.
that's not happening. That's not happening.
Did you have a question, Mr. Moore? Oh, you would be all the way down there. I have a badly jammed toe. Not toe jam, but jam.
Yeah. Thank goodness.
Hey, my name is Jim, but most people just refer to me as Rebecca's husband. But I applaud your decision to stay in Fort Wayne.
Thank you.
It's, I think almost everybody in this congregation has wondered why we stay in
Right.
Fort Wayne.
Yeah.
But Rebecca has the answer for that, I think, and she says we are living in the mission field.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. That's true. That's real. Oh, Mary.
I know.
Ah! Okay, Mary.
I know you as a very open, kind, loving person. And when you tell your story of everything you've been through, what has helped you avoid bitterness?
To be honest, the only thing that really keeps me from being bitter is experiences with people who are good. What I have seen, especially over the last, I would say, 4 years since coming out, is not every religious organization or religious leader is bad. And it took a lot of my own effort to realize that. Because, you know, I did come out of a lot of this very jaded. But I wanted to see if life really was as cut and dry as I had thought it was for so long. And so I just leaned into conversations. I also remained very intrigued by religion, and I've pursued my own therapy, and it's a lot of work that I've had to do, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, it's just a combination of things. Community, doing things like this, sharing. It has really helped. I think that vulnerability could solve a lot of problems for a lot of us. Yeah.
I think Autumn and I have been friends because Autumn will be very open and she will share of herself and overshare, and I'm autistic, so for me it's my nature.
That's right.
So we just sort of bond on that level.
That's right.
Back here?
Anybody?
Anyone? Bueller? Anyone? Oh, Dodie.
Not to put you on the spot, but our youth group could use some volunteers. Just saying.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Youth group, yeah.
Absolutely. Let's talk after the service. I'm always game for some other challenge in the community, some other way to make an impact. So yeah, that would be great.
Anyone else? Okay. Oh. Of course, you'd be in the back.
I was just getting ready to clap.
Oh.
I was going to clap.
Okay, well, announce that then. I'm
Amazing
getting ready to
story.
clap.
It brought tears to my eyes, and I'm so sorry you went through all of that.
Thank you.
But it's made the person that you two are. So
Yeah.
thank you very much.
Thank you very
And I'm going
much.
to clap now.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very good idea.
Thank you.
Put this back in here.
Thank you so much.
Okay, now
Oh,
for
wait.
our closing hymn.
Oh, could I do a one?
Oh, you're going to get
Can I
closing words.
Can I do a? Oh, okay.
After, see, we got closing hymn, then closing words.
Well, I was gonna do
you
a
finished the
couple
show.
of.
Okay, well,
I was gonna do a poem and then
you do
can we
one,
do
and
closing
then-
hymn?
then we'll do
Is that
closing
cool?
hymn, and then- yeah.
Are we tight on time or anything?
We're good, we're good.
Okay,
We're good.
terrific, terrific. All right, so I'd like to close this with a poem that I wrote, and it's called "Cosmic Children." We were built in the very spiral of this galaxy, just left of the epicenter, where the largest nebulous clouds of cosmic dusts and light gather, in ritual-like circles, celebrating and spinning in the nearing end of their journey, the journey to us. We breathed in the stardust and breathed out power. We have been sent from the heavens, not cast out. We are the bringers of possibility incarnate. We are the grand opus of existence and being. We are the cosmic children. Thank you.